Hey, fam, what's going on? What's good? In this pop up episode of Pivot Play today, I want to talk to you about ideas and opportunity. And if you're anything like me, there's a certain point, in the calendar year where you start to think about what did I get done? What did I not get done? What did I learn? What I need to learn? All those sorts of things. You do some sort of inventory of the year. And some people do it at the very end of the year, some at the very beginning of the next calendar year. And I find for me that process is starting to take place sooner and sooner, sometimes as early as October or November, because the frank reality is if you haven't started something until October, November, unless it's something extremely simple, probably not going to get done. And so I want to talk to you about ideas because in this time that we're in, there are still plenty of opportunities out there. And I know for a lot of people, it's very bleak. It's been a rough time. The economy has hit some people hard as COVID has continued to ravage. We're now starting to see the ripple effects of what happens downstream in an economy, right? And these are some of the things that we started talking about in the late spring. It took some time for these things to come about, but this is the reason why there's such a push for how do you get prepared and what does your mindset need to be and how do you really fortify yourself so you're not consumed by this time, also so you do not become a victim of this time. And so, I've been one to do this and sort of brainstorm, you know ideas, opportunities. How do I look at the world? How do I find a place where I can bring value, right? That has not just some satisfaction for me, maybe even emotionally, but also has an economic outcome, right? That allows me to be able to make money, but I believe very highly in exchange, right? I don't expect something for nothing. And as you see, there's a lot of people out there trying to come up with scams and hustles because they really do believe in something for nothing. I do not. But anyway, so let's get right to the point. Is what I found is something very interesting that has happened for me. So I wanted to share it with you because maybe this can help you, right? If you're not going through the same thing, is this idea of sitting and really trying to imagine where the new opportunities can come from. What I'm going to encourage you to do is to do a bit of recycling. And what do I mean by recycle? I mean go back to some of your old ideas, right? Go back to some of your old ideas. So if you're like me, I mean, I keep things in books and I have catalogs of ideas and concepts and frameworks and things that I've written down. Some of them I've done in some ways. A lot of them I've not done in any way, and maybe I got discouraged before I got started, no matter what it was. But what I'm encouraging you to do is, however you have cataloged or kept track of previous ideas, previous business ventures, I want you to go back and look at those, examine those. Now, you need to be prepared because sometimes what happens is when we walk away from an idea, we had a reason for doing that. And so it'll be an opportunity for you to have some clarity around why did I walk away. Sometimes we got discouraged before we ever got started. Maybe we were in the wrong types of relationships or partnerships. Maybe we felt challenged from a resource perspective. Maybe we felt challenged from a time perspective. So, what I'm saying to you is some of those ideas, in the light of the current circumstance, this may be the time for that idea. This may be the time for that venture. And it may have to morph or shift or be reconfigured in a way to fit into this time, but there could be some gold there. So before you sit and really agonize over what can I do, what can I do, what can I do, let's go back and look at what you've done, right? And then, be prepared to, um, sort of right size the idea and be very clear about, again, why you didn't go forward, why it may have not been as successful as you wanted the first time around, right? You still have another opportunity to do it again. So, things I want you to think about. One is time, right? What COVID has done is changed a lot of things from a time perspective because we're spending a lot more time at home, a lot of us. Some people are still out there grinding it out, but a lot of folks are, you have at least more time at home. So minimally, the time that it took you to commute, the time that it took you to really get, dressed up or whatever you had to do for work, you're not doing that anymore. But I also want you to be aware that in order to do something different, and this would be with or without COVID, you still have to truly manage your time. It is the most critical of all the assets that you have. It is the most valuable thing that you have is time. And so, what I want you to think about is in order to do something different, you will very likely need a longer day to do it. So, that means you will either have to start earlier or you're going to have to end later. And I don't know another way to really make it happen because there's other things that happen in between or that are the things that you have to do to sustain yourself. But in this time of seeding, this season of planting new seeds, I want you to think about what's required for a seed to grow. Is the seed first has to be placed in a nourishing, nurturing environment that's really protected in a way, right? And if you can allow that to happen, then that seed can germinate. If the seed can germinate and get the nourishment, protection, that it needs, then it can begin to establish a root system. And if it can establish a root system, then it can grow up and it can mature and it then can produce fruit. And what I find is some people, and I've done this too, right? I'm not throwing stones, is we've not always allowed the idea to germinate. We've not protected it. We've not put it in that incubator to really give it what it needs, which is, positivity, new learning, new skills. So just think about the environment, and then think about how you manage your time. And then the other thing I want you to think about is your state of mind. And so, again, going back to some of these older ideas, things that may have failed in the past, things that we may have walked away from, those ideas may come back to us and bring some of those old emotions back into play as well. But beware of that, because the more that you can stay in that state of gratitude, that state of all things are possible, that state of positivity, the more you will see that this is a thing that can really happen, and dismiss the old stuff. If there's things that you didn't do as well as you could have, don't worry about. Like, it's time to go forward, and that's the reason why we're looking at these ideas, because you're different. The times are different, the conditions are different, and it just might be the perfect recipe for that idea to be able to move forward. The third thing I want you to think about is resources, which is another reason why people walk away from their ideas is the idea that I don't have the money, I don't have the resources to get this done. And what I'm going to caution you with is don't let that happen, right? I believe that is a trick. Now, there may be some things that you need to get in order. Maybe you haven't, put enough money aside, saved enough money, but it doesn't stop you from sketching and designing and dreaming and looking, because right now, depending on the idea, there could actually be monies that are out there that are available to help these things get started. And what I'm learning for myself personally is to never allow money to be the reason that you don't do something. And I believe that because I believe this is that provision is found on the road of purpose. If you're walking the road that you are intended to walk in this phase of your life, then all the provision and all the things that you need are on that road. They may not meet you. It's kind of like going down a highway, right? And you're burning gas. You might be getting a little hungry. Maybe you got to go to the bathroom. But there's no continuous, rest stop down any road. Just, the rest stops are not as long as the road. You have to drive till you get to the next spot. So what I'm encouraging you to do is keep the idea moving. Keep your energy moving. Keep your positivity, your belief that all things are possible, that sort of nurturing of the idea. Keep that while you push down the road so you can get to the next place of provision, that rest stop that has the gas, that has the food, that has the bathrooms, because it's not parallel to the entire road. You have to have the willingness to go down the road even if you don't see the next thing that you need, and just believe that it's going to be there. And so there's time, there's state of mind, there's resources, and there's relationships. If you go back to an earlier episode of the podcast, I think is really, really important is was me, we, them. There's things that I can do. There's things that my team that I'm working with is going to do, and there's things that we can outsource and other people will do, sort of like work for hire. So they're not really part of the deal. But from me to we, establishing who are these resources in terms of relationships that we will leverage. Who are the people who are going to partner with us? And this is where you have to inspect your own personal network. This is when you have to look at the level of trust and confidence that you have in other people. And what I'm going to suggest to you is don't dub them with something that they haven't already earned. If they haven't already demonstrated, the fact that they can be trustworthy, don't dub them trustworthy. They've already shown you, what fruits are coming from their tree. But in the same way that I said that provision is found on the road of purpose, I believe that the people, the relationships, the teaming that's required is going to be there. I'm simply saying to you, keep your eyes open so you can see when those relationships are there for you. It could be someone that you know today, it could be someone that you don't know. And then allow yourself to go through the process of building relationship. So don't want to make this long, but I really want you to think about, how do I go back and recycle some of my older ideas, things that I tried in the past. Maybe you didn't have the right partnerships. Maybe you didn't have the right money. Maybe you didn't have the right learning. But look at that idea, and maybe with some bit of tweaking in this new environment, you can find a new opportunity with an old idea. All right? Real simple, but something I wanted to drop on you. Keep this with you. Think about it. Meditate on it. Pull out those old notebooks, those index cards, wherever you keep your ideas. If they're buried somewhere in your memory, sit in a time of quietness and meditate and think about those things and how this could be the time for that idea. All right? Peace out, y'all.